Every now and then you get a chance to chop it up with a guy named Brian Lizama, the Celtic salt king of California.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Is that what SELT stands for? Celtic?
Yeah, correct.
Talk a
Salt,
little
salt.
bit about Celtic salt. I didn't know anything about it, and now's the time for us to share it with everyone.
Let's go. So, our company's called Salt by Nature's Pantry. So, Celtic salt, guys, is the salt that comes from Brittany, France, from the west coast of France. And basically, the Celtic Sea was
Oh,
in
it's
that.
that fancy salt, that French salt.
Yeah, exactly. And this salt is special because it's actually the harvesting methods date over 1,000 years, traced back to the Celtics in that region. And what it produces is a special salt, which is called gray salt, sel de gris right here. And we call it coarse light gray salt. And it's a salt that's filled with a lot of minerals, and that comes from the clay lined beds where they harvested the salt. And this salt has over 82 minerals in it. It has potassium, magnesium, iron, zinc. So it has over 82 essential minerals in it. So every time you put salt into your food or in your water specifically, you're improving your hydration and you're adding a little bit more minerals to your overall essential minerals that you get on a daily basis. So it's fancy. It tastes really good. It's amazing on steaks, on fruits, and baking. We have a lot of chefs that are using it, a lot of bakers that are using it as well, and they're telling us like they could taste the difference in their food with it. And a little bit over 2 years ago, I had no clue about salt. I was trying
Well,
to get,
well,
yeah,
let me ask you a question.
yeah,
I stay away from salt because it causes high blood pressure.
right.
What about people that are worried about high blood pressure?
Great question. So the whole correlation with salt and blood pressure, it looks like it's been misinformation basically for a long time. So in the 70s, I read this book called The Salt Fix. And so you guys should check it out. If you guys haven't checked it out, check out The Salt Fix by Dr. I can't pronounce his last name, but it's like a Greek last name, Dinukopoulos, something like that. But the Salt Fix, he talks about how in the 70s, America declared war on salt, and they said, "Hey, salt is actually really bad for you. It's making conditions like blood pressure and heart problems even worse, right?" So at that point, they declared salt the enemy, and they made everybody lower their salt intake. So
Yeah, that's
back
what I thought.
right, yeah. So people
And I
started.
thought I thought
Uh-huh.
salt dehydrates the body. Like I thought when you take salt, it basically dehydrates you.
Right, that's the crazy part, right? So your body needs salt. So we have in your cells, you have sodium potassium pumps, which is basically what's moving blood in and out of your body, nutrients out of your body. All the functions require sodium. So what happens is your body needs a certain amount of sodium per day, right? And when you take away that sodium, that basically causes a whole bunch of other issues. So that's where you have people that have blood pressure issues, they have sugar cravings because they're not getting enough salt into their body. So salt helps regulate a lot of things, including blood pressure. Like I had somebody, actually, one of my daughters, she goes to a school here in Santa Fe Springs, and her friend's mother was struggling with blood pressure. Like she had dangerously low blood pressure. And this lady's probably like in her late 30s, very young. And so her doctor told her, well, you need to get on a really good natural salt. So she got on our salt, and and yeah, it leveled out her blood pressure. She went from like very low to leveled out. And the whole part with high blood pressure is actually this. So there's two types of salt, right? There's processed salt, which is like sodium chloride, right? It's void of all minerals. It's processed. It's bleached. They add things like sugar, like dextrose, to it, and aluminum silicate. So it's at this point, it goes from being a natural salt to being a chemical because they take everything out of it. That's good. They take all the minerals out. They wash them all out, and then they purify it to a point where it's just sodium chloride, which is just a chemical at that point. So it's processed. So because of that, because it is processed, your body doesn't really take too well to regular processed salt. But when you introduce it to an actual all natural salt, now I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to go into the too deep about this. You guys can research this on
You're
your
not
own,
a doctor, but you just play one on a podcast, don't you?
right? That's funny. The
Paging
fun,
Dr. Lizama, Dr. Lizama, please,
uh,
paging Dr. Lizama.
the funny part, Chris, too, is I actually when I was at Long Beach, I went to the University of Long Beach State, and I was initially going towards medicine to becoming a doctor. But once I realized, the issues with the health insurance and the issues with all the modern medicine not being too healthy for you, as what they say it is, I was like, man, I don't want to be legal drug dealer. And that's nothing bad against all the doctors out there. You know, we need a lot of doctors. But for me, that was like, okay, I wanted to transition to something else. And so I stayed away from traditional medicine. So going into the natural salt, again, going back to natural salt, your body actually, when you take more salt, your whatever you don't need, your body actually gets rid of it in your urine. So really it's very difficult to get to pretty much have too much salt. It's pretty difficult, you know. And your body actually knows it. Like when you're eating food, sometimes you can taste it. Okay, this needs more salt, this needs less salt, right? So you're again, we're natural. We've been designed perfectly by God, right? So our body has a lot of things that balances out your salt intake and blood pressure and things like that. So a lot of times it's when you're lacking essential minerals, when you're lacking good salt in your life, that's when a lot of bad things start happening. You know, I don't know if you know this, Chris, but a lot of people, especially elderly people, they die when it's like very hot, and they die of dehydration. And so they're drinking a lot of water, and that's the problem, is that they're drinking water without any electrolytes in it. They don't have any salt in their water, right? So one thing that I discovered or researched that was that basically when someone is dehydrated, what do? They put you on an IV bag, right? An IV bag is mostly made out of sodium, and I believe it's potassium as well, right? It has a few other minerals.
You're talking about a saline drip?
Correct, correct. It has high sodium. I think it has like 8,000 milligrams of salt or something like that, but it has a lot of sodium. And so again, when you're dehydrated, you don't need more water necessarily. You need more salt, you know. So it's a whole you know, subject
So,
that should be researched and talked about.
so this is your company, right?
Correct.
Talk a little bit. Are those your two products, the small jar and the bag?
Correct. So we have right now we have a total of 6 SKUs. So we have 1 pound bags of fine salt and coarse salt. Right. So this is our 1 pound bag right here. It says
Okay.
a pinch of perfection because it'll make any dish that much better. And we have that, which is fine salt. We have 1 pound of this, also coarse. We have half-pound bags, a little smaller. And then we also have these glass shakers as well. And this is 100% glass and wood. So there's no plastics on this right here. And then we also
Are
have,
those both the same size, or is one a little smaller?
these are both the same size.
Okay. For some reason, it looked like one was a little smaller.
Yeah, no, they're both the same size. Might be the
So
shadow.
to get a little virality, can we give away 20 of those little small bottles to anybody that replies to this video?
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. We'll give out the plastic ones. I have plastic shakers. We can give out 20 of those since those are easier to ship. They won't break as easily.
It's like those, but they're just made out of plastic, right?
Correct. Correct. It's more sturdy.
Why don't you give them the glass ones? I think it's important for them to get the real experience. I think glass would be good for them.
Okay, I'm up for it. Let's do it.
There you go. So, talk a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur. Talk about literally, what it took for you to build this company from the ground up, because I don't think people respect what entrepreneurs go through when they start a business. Because, I always tell people the devil sits on your shoulder all day long and sells you fear, tells you all the things you can't do. And God sits there and tells you, I have faith in you. I have
Amen.
faith. You were built for this shit. The devil's sitting there going, no, you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail. And God says, have. God says, I have faith in you, have faith in yourself. And it's funny because most people listen to the devil telling them all the things that they can't do, and they forget to listen to God, who realizes he made you for something great. And he said, have faith in yourself. And as an entrepreneur, you've had to have faith that I guarantee you there were times where it was like so fucking hard. You were like, shit, I gotta quit. And what
Yeah,
gets you through that? What gets you through that so you can push through? Because no company is built by somebody that wasn't a great entrepreneur. And I tell people this all the time. You should listen to the stories of entrepreneurs that are hustling and grinding, because those are the stories that are going to inspire you to do something great one day with the life you've been given.
100%. So my entrepreneurial journey, Chris, it started when I was 19 and a half years old. So I was a full-time student in Long Beach State University. My mom was a single mom.
What is that? The Long Beach Seals, baby seals? Is that harp seals?
No, Long Beach State University is a school here. They're the
No, no,
49ers.
I get it. But what's their mascot? What's their
Oh,
team mascot?
it's a 49ers.
The
49ers.
49ers?
Yeah,
Shout out to the Long Beach 49ers.
yeah, yeah. And then they have a pyramid, and I forgot what else they have, but it's been a long time. That's like 10 years ago already.
Oh
And
shit, you're getting old.
yeah, I'm getting up there, man. 33 right now, so I feel great. I feel blessed, man. Thankfully.
Listen, I'm gonna be 59 in April, and trust me, life gets better as you get older.
Yeah, you get wiser and things get better. I'm sure.
You sometimes get wiser if you pay attention to the things you've done.
All
And if
right.
you don't pay attention to the life around you, you sometimes lose sight of the lessons that are there every day.
Right. Exactly.
By
You
the way,
got
what does it say there? It says Salt by Nature's
Nature's
Pantry.
Pantry. Correct.
So is that the name of the company, Nature's Pantry?
So correct. So Salt Salt is our brand of salt, but Nature's Pantry is my main company where we're planning to launch a lot of other products from. Right now, Salt Salt's the main explosive product, but we have a lot of other products that we're launching. Like we're launching an electrolyte powder in a couple months. We've been doing research and development on that for over a year as well. And then we have a lot of other products that we're launching in the health industry. So in the natural food industry.
So you have a vision for this way beyond just salt.
Correct. Correct.
And as
Salt
an
is
entrepreneur, you have to have a vision 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. You have to say to yourself, that's where we're going.
exactly. So going into the story of how I got started into business, basically I was a full-time student. I was working at FedEx ground loading boxes. Those
Shout
were
out to FedEx.
right. They taught me how to package and put things in the tight space. And basically, when I was going to school, I was going to school from like 8 in the morning to 5 p.m. Then I was working from 6 to midnight at FedEx. I was working that swing shift. Then I'd get home at 12 o'clock, 1 in the morning, do homework till 2 or 3, or do papers. And sometimes I wouldn't sleep. Long story short, that taught me the value of time and how time is super limited. I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, wait, I'm going to school 8 to 5, then I'm working from 6 to midnight. That's it. The day's gone. Like, what's left? And I noticed working at FedEx that I was getting paid. This is 2010. I was getting paid, I think, $12 an hour. And I said, I work 4 to 6 hours a day. Plus, I'm going to school full time. Even if I get $1, $2 raise, it's not going to make a big difference for me. So right away, I understood like, whoa, if you get paid based on time only, which is hourly pay, you're going to be very limited to how much you can earn and that type of lifestyle you can have. So basically, about 9 months into FedEx, I got an opportunity to go into the insurance field, and I had no clue about insurance. I had no clue about sales. I actually hated sales and insurance. I hated sales mostly because I was kind of a shy guy. I didn't like approaching people, talking to people, right? And so I think if you're going to go into sales, probably one of the hardest industries you can go into is life insurance because it's a product people buy when they're going to die, when they to basically prepare for death. And who wants to prepare for death? Most people don't. Especially
The
Latinos.
only thing we're guaranteed, death.
Exactly. Yeah, and especially Latinos, like in LA, man, they do not want to buy life insurance. Like they think it's like it's a bad juju, it's a scam. So it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot. I had to improve my speaking skills, sales skills, and that's when I learned about entrepreneurship in general, about mentorship, reading books like Think and Grow Rich, Rich
Shout
Dad
out to my
Poor
guy
Dad.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, man, that's my favorite book actually. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. And so a lot of these books talk about faith. Napoleon Hill's book talks about faith and, envisioning what you want and having a vision for your life and really committing to that one thing that you want to achieve. So I could say for 12 years, that's all I thought about. I was like, okay, I'm going to build a big insurance business. I'm going to build a successful company. I'm going to help other people become successful. And at the same time, I'm going to help a lot of people get insured. So when they die, they don't leave their families struggling. They leave a better future for their children or their wives or what have you. So making an impact is huge. And so that's what I was doing for 12 years. And I built a business up to 300 agents. So we've got 300 licensed agents all over the different parts of the country. And life was great. I had bought my dream home. I was driving a Lamborghini. My kids in private school to this day, they still are. And so I was on top of top of the hill, you could say, as far as what I wanted to achieve in life. And this was like at age 29, 30 when I was getting to my peak in the insurance industry. And and obviously being an entrepreneur, I always used faith as my foundation, because especially in those first 4 years selling insurance, it was a struggle every single day. It was a struggle every day. Didn't have any money. I would get made fun of by people that were making fun of me for dropping out of college to being an entrepreneur, and even my own family, and friends. So it was the toughest. It was a lot of you could say challenges and a lot of obstacles, and difficulties you're dealing with as an startup entrepreneur. But I've seen other people that were successful. I'm like, well, okay, if that guy can do it, why can't I? What makes me different from that person? The difference is the experience
Nothing.
and the time.
God
Yeah,
gave you all the tools you need to be great. In fact, the
exactly.
day you were born, he whispered in your ear, greatness is your destiny.
Hmm.
And look, trust me, every single day when you wake up in the morning, if you just look close enough at the side of your bed, there's a guy there with a long white beard with a big bag of popcorn, and he's like, Brian, today's going to be an amazing day, buddy. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this day. You're out there and you're in a bathroom, you're brushing your teeth. He's sitting there eating some more popcorn. Brian, let's go, baby. Let's go.
Let's
That's God.
go.
God's
And
cheering you on. He has faith in you that is up here. And people sometimes have faith in themselves down here. You got to believe in yourself as much as God does. If God believes in you and has that much faith in you, you got to have the same amount of faith or more. This guy's cheering you on every day. He's like,
exactly,
let's go. Let's go.
exactly. Yeah, and God's foundation as far as what I've done, in the insurance industry and now going into the food industry, and like I'll give you a quick story. One time when I was first starting the insurance business, it was commission only. It's commission only, and so I remember I
That's the
didn't
best
have
paycheck you can get. You can make
exactly,
as much as you want.
exactly. I've heard that commission is the highest paid hard work you'll ever do, but the least paid light work you'll ever do. So if you don't really do the work, you won't get paid anything. There's no
I
floor.
always tell people instead of commission only, I always refer to it as unlimited income potential.
Mm,
You
mm,
can write your own paycheck. Funny thing is, you were talking earlier about when you were making 12 bucks an hour and working 40 hours a week. The most you were going to get paid that week was $480. But I work 40 hours a week and I've been making my own paycheck since I was 18 years old. I work 40 hours a week. I can make whatever I want because I can put in the effort to pursue whatever I want in the form of wealth or sales. And when people look at commission only, they're like, oh my God, it's commission only. Dude, I look at salaries as salary only. Like what if you have more than $480 worth of goals that week? You got to
exactly.
go out and get a side hustle. Well, heck, eventually the side hustle is all you. It's literally whatever you decide to do with it. And that's the thing people forget. When you have unlimited opportunity, that's great. But when you work as a slave to the grind, when you work for a company and they put you on a salary, you might as well just call it slavery. Salary equals slavery. Trust me.
Trust me, I would preach that all the time. Because my job in the insurance industry was becoming a broker, is recruiting people to go into sales, recruiting people to go into from limited income to unlimited income. Making your own. You write your own paycheck, basically. You know, but it requires skills. You got to get your skills up, and that's where I feel like entrepreneurship is very important to learn at an early age, because the sooner you learn it, you can start just blooming in that industry. And I'll give you that story I was going to tell you. So one time I had an appointment. I had I think my gas needle was already below where it's empty, where it's empty and then it's below empty. You get like 1 gallon of reserve of gas. And I had an appointment to go make a sale, for life insurance. And I was done. I was out of money. I was didn't have anywhere to borrow or anything like that. I was like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I remember I just said, I just prayed and I said, God, I don't know how I'm gonna get to this appointment. And a lot of people at that point would already quit on that business. What? I'm at rock bottom. This is not working for me. Let me just give up. I was like, what? God, help me out. I'm here for a reason. Help me out. So I said, God, look, I don't know how I'm gonna get to this appointment. I think I got like 75 cents or a couple bucks for gas, like maybe $1, maybe a
Oh
dollar
my
75.
God.
I'm telling you, it was bad.
You were literally on E.
Yeah, I was on E, exactly. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to the gas station, God, and I'm gonna trust my faith in you that you're gonna help me get to this appointment, right? So I had just enough gas to get to the gas station. I get there, and I'm like, okay. I pull up to the pump number 4 or whatever it was, and I go to put my card to pay my last dollar in gas, just to put $1 in gas, and then the pump read, it said pump is in use. So I looked at it, I swiped my card again, I was like, and it said pump is in use, and I was like, what? So I walked back to my car and I start pumping gas, and it started pumping like $30-$40 of gas. So It was crazy. So what had happened was I went to the cashier, or somebody came out from the gas station, and they said, "Hey, I paid for the wrong gas tank." So they paid for the wrong pump. So somebody made a mistake and paid for my pump, basically, you know? And I was like, what the heck? Like, what are the chances I park here at this pump and somebody already paid for it? And that's what I took as like, I was like, okay, that was it. My faith, I had the faith to leave, and God somehow made it at that exact moment when I pulled up to the pump that the person paid for my pump, you know? And from there, I just use that as an experience to know, like, no matter what I'm going through, God is going to be there with me, and that's what helped me go to where I grew in the insurance industry and what transitioned me now into the health industry. So going into why, I don't, do you want to know why I went into the health industry or the food industry?
Of course. I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me more.
Let's go. So after building this successful business, it was going great, and our team was doing great. Helped a lot of people make six figures. I started looking at, this was 2022. I started seeing a lot of clients with life insurance. They were not qualifying as easily for policies. So basically, for life insurance, you got to qualify health wise. You got to have decent health. If you got a lot of health problems, you can't qualify, or you get a premium raise. You have to pay higher premiums. So I started seeing a lot of people in their late 20s, 30s, and early 40s having high blood pressure, diabetes, and cancer. And I was like, dang, when I started in 2012, maybe 1 out of 10 people in their 30s and 40s had a health condition. By the time it was like 2022, it felt like 3 or 4 out of 10 had a health condition. And I was like, man,
What do
something's
you
going
think?
on.
What do you think is the reason for that?
Um, I would say a few things, right? Number one, I would say the food, right? Food, we eat a lot of processed food. You can go to Chick-fil-A today and get a burger. You think you're eating chicken and bread. And at the end of the day, there's like 60 ingredients in each different part of that meal.
Wow.
Yeah, like the fries has
Yeah,
like
I got to tell you, I talked yesterday to a guy named Todd Price. Great interview.
yeah,
You should check it out after we're done with this. But we were talking about food quality. We were talking about Taco Bell and Chipotle. And I don't even know how people eat Taco Bell, but Chipotle, that is some of the cleanest food you can get in America today when it comes to getting fast food. I shout out to Chipotle. I fucking love you guys. And by the way, Chipotle is not a sponsor of this podcast, but if you guys want to be, I will take all my sponsorship dollars in Chipotle.
let's
So,
go.
but I got to tell you, like, people have to understand that what you put in your body. I got a book that I'm working on called Fuel, Not Food. And you got to look at food as a little different. You got to look at it as fuel. Like, for example, I drink a big glass of this periodically, once every couple of days. And this is beet
Right.
juice. And beet juice is packed with great things for your blood. And then I pack it with this stuff, which is 21 minerals and herbs. And it's like basically it looks like motor oil. Here, I'll actually show it to you so you can see it. And this stuff adds, more. Look at that. Look at that. It's like motor oil. See
Yeah,
that?
it's dark.
Yeah, it's dark because it's dense. It's very dense. And people don't realize you got to put things in your body that fuel your body. You got to treat your body like that Lambo. You got to put good fuel in the Lambo for the Lambo to run well. And at the
Correct.
end of the day, people sometimes they make decisions based on food. I want food. I want food. I want food. They put food in their body. People have to understand fuel, not food. You got to look at the fuel that you're putting in your body.
Yeah, 100%.
And it kind of goes in line with what you're doing because that salt, it helps fuel your body.
Correct. Yeah, it's giving you minerals. It's giving you things that your body needs. And again, your body runs on sodium potassium pump. So if you don't have enough sodium, you're not running as efficiently, basically. So definitely, I'm in line with you on that. And yeah, definitely the food. The food's a big issue right now. A lot of food's processed. You can go to the grocery store and it's like you got to avoid 80% of what's in the grocery store to actually eat healthier. So I would say that's one thing. And then the second thing that it could be is just environmental. I feel like there's a lot to it. It could be Wi-Fi radiation. It could be vaccinations. A lot of things that are getting put into our bodies or we're getting surrounded with on a daily basis that at the end of the day, that wasn't here 40, 50 years ago. Wi-Fi wasn't here 50 years ago. The amount of vaccines, like, okay, I don't want to get too deep into vaccines, right? But growing up, like in the 90s, there was like 17 vaccines you had to take, which is fine, right? Because they were tested, they were for like polio, measles, and things like that. I have 4 children, so it's my job as a father to research what I'm going to put into my kids, you know. And so, as a father, the schedule today, Chris, have you heard of this before or no?
Well, I'm a big fan of Robert Kennedy, so whatever you're about to say, it probably falls in line with Robert Kennedy.
So, if today, if you look at the vaccine schedule, right, back then it was 17 before age 5. Okay, today, guess how many people have to take, or how many children have to take before age 5? Just take
I
a
want to
guess.
say it's probably like 30 or 40.
72.
I knew it was like a big number.
Yeah.
And I
So
know that Robert Kennedy is like really trying to make people aware of how vaccines are not necessary in all cases. And I think more people should question things because the drug industry, they are drug dealers and they get paid to peddle and sling drugs. They're just like your corner drug dealer that's slinging fentanyl or crack cocaine. The only difference is drug companies get paid for more vaccines to be administered and for more people to buy their drugs, which is basically a vaccine.
yeah,
So at the end of the day, people have to understand, do your own research, do your own homework, learn as much as you can, because whatever you're putting into your body, whether it's fuel or food or whether it's a drug, you have to ask yourself, what's this drug doing to my body? And do I need this drug?
exactly, exactly. Uh, I've seen it all the time. You know, there's people taking drugs that they shouldn't be taking. You know, doctors prescribing depressants, antidepressants. I mean, I heard somewhere like around 2/3 of women in America are on antidepressants at one point or another. You know, it's like so
No, no,
high.
no. That's that you read that statistic wrong. 2/3 of my ex-girlfriends are on antidepressants. That's what it was.
That was funny.
Shout out to all the women I've dated before.
Shout out to all the exactly. They got left behind, Chris. They got left behind. That's why they're on
Listen,
antidepressants now. They're like, I missed out.
it's a bus that's moving fast. You got to get on or you got to get off.
That's it, man.
So at
Uh,
the end of the day, I always like to talk to entrepreneurs about a message that they could share with others that are maybe afraid of pursuing their own dreams. Maybe they're listening to the devil tell them all the things they can't do.
right.
Leave people with an inspirational message, an inspirational story that gets them off the couch to pursue their dreams, that gets them past the fear of being an entrepreneur.
Got it. So I've heard this before. It says, you know, the devil is going to give you 100 reasons. I could say the devil or your own mind will give you 100 reasons
No,
why.
it's definitely the devil. I'm pretty sure
Right.
he's parked in your mind trying to convince you you're worthless.
Exactly. But I'm talking for the people that don't believe in, you know, the God or the devil. It's the devil, but it's also if you don't believe in the devil, it's your mind, which is getting that input from there. So he's gonna give you 100 reasons why something won't work, right? And you can choose any one of those 100 reasons. It could be, oh, you know, I have 4 kids. My kids are small. I don't have time to go into business. You know, it could be finances. There's hundreds of reasons of why something's not going to work for you. But if you really want to change your life, all you need is one reason. You know, all you need is one reason of why you want to change your life, why you want to go into business, and stick to that, right? And let that one reason be more powerful than the other 100 reasons of why you think it won't work or why it's not going to work. And going into what I would recommend people to do if they want to chase their goals and dreams, I could give for my own testimony of what to do. You know, what I would say, okay, if I was starting all over again today, what would I recommend you to do? Number one, I would say get into church, get into faith in God, you know, learn to pray, learn to read the Bible. Because in there you're going to learn a lot of lessons. Actually, most self-improvement books, they come from Bible-based principles. You know, that's a lot of the authors. That's where they get their material from is the Bible. Number two is self-improve. You know, what your mind is everything, right? So if your mind is telling you negativity, the economy's bad, this is bad. If you're programmed negatively, you're going to stay negative and you're going to have negative results. So you got to program your mind for positivity. So read books, listen to audios that are going to help you, inspire you to change your mentality and think differently so that you can actually be able to handle business, because business is going to give you challenges and you're going to get punched in the face every day in business. But if you don't have faith and if you don't have the mindset of positivity and saying, you know what, okay, I got hit with this, I'm moving forward, right? I've heard this as well before. It's like there's no problem too big for any human to handle. We can handle every problem that's thrown at us. The only difference is if you're mentally considering yourself big enough to handle that problem, you know. So there's no big problems, there's just small people is what they say in a book that I've read. And so what that means is that you can get through any problem as long as you believe you can do it. That's a big key right there. And have a vision. You have to have a vision for what you want in life. If you have, for example, you have a gun, right, and you're gonna aim at a target, right? You can't hit a target unless you aim at a target, right? So if you don't have a vision for what you want in life, you're going nowhere in life. And a lot of people I feel like are drifting through life. They're just letting life happen to them versus actually choosing and designing their own life through their faith and through their goals of what they're working towards every day. So you gotta have a vision for what you want. And for me, it's like with the Nature's Pantry business, it's a vision for me that came from God. I remember when I was going through the transition, I went to a vacation. I took my mom to Mexico for a little vacation, and on the way back from the plane on the flight, I was just praying. I had my iPhone out with my notes, and I was like, God, just give me a vision for what you want me to accomplish. Like, this is what I've done so far. What do you want me to do? Because a lot of times I would say in my early 20s and 30s, it was more about me, right? A lot of entrepreneurs is me, right? But I was like, you know what? I want this to be for God, and I want this to be for the betterment of the world. So I was like, God, give me a vision for what you want me to do, and that's when I came up with the whole Nature's Pantry about providing better food solutions for people from children to adults, and basically providing healthier quality food across the board. So we're going into salt, we're going into hydration, we're going into beef tallow, a lot of different things that people can make those small 1% changes every day. That's ultimately going to reflect a better health for you, which is a better life overall, right? So have a vision for what you want and then work towards it every day. Like 1% every day is 365% in a year, right? A lot of people underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years of being persistent and consistent. Everybody wants to be successful in 6 months or in 1 year, but if this is your first time going into business, just know that it might take you 3 years before you blow up. It might take you 5 years before you blow up. It might take you 10 years before you blow up. But as long as you keep pursuing and persisting in what you're doing every day, that moment is going to come. And a lot of times I feel like people don't succeed because you're not ready for it. You have to prepare yourself, and I feel like God is preparing you for a certain level of success. And if he gives you too much that you can't handle, it'll destroy you, so you have to be at a point in your life where you're ready for the amount of success that you're going to receive. And when you're ready, you're going to receive it if you've been doing the work, right? One of my favorite sayings I've heard is like, pray as if it's up to God, but work as if it's only up to you. So you can't be having faith and praying. Faith without works is dead. So if you're praying and having faith, but you're not doing the work, you're not going to get blessed. And there's so much that you can do every single day, that there's so much opportunity. I feel like there's so much abundance, and I feel like when you're pursuing what God wants you to pursue, doors open up like crazy. Like, I'll tell you this, Chris, when I started my insurance business, I was struggling for my first 4 years. With this salt business, it's been 1 year exactly, and God has opened so many doors. It's insane. We're with the largest natural food distributor in the country. It's called KeHE, right? They distribute to Sprouts, they distribute to Albertsons, Target, Whole Foods, right? So within our first year, we're already launching with them. We're launching with them actually in 60 days. May, they're going to be putting us on all their shelves with over 20,000 retailers, right? So we have
Where do
huge
you
doors
get your
open.
salt from, by the way?
France,
Oh,
Brittany, France.
it comes from France.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
that fancy salt.
yeah, exactly. It's the bougie salt.
The bougie.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was looking for the salt everywhere and I couldn't find it. And I live at the time I was living in La Habra Heights, and I couldn't find the salt anywhere as far as uh, you know, Celtic salt, mineral salt. I couldn't find it. And I was like, man, I'm not the only one here. It's looking for this salt. If I'm looking for this salt, there's millions of people in LA that might be looking for this. So that's when I started going to the researching of where the salt comes from. And I actually had to learn a little bit of French because where it's harvested in France, it's a very rural region. So they don't speak English much. So I remember I was on Duolingo. Shout out to Duolingo. And I like every night I'll spend like 30 minutes just learning French terms and learning how to speak French. So when I would call these French manufacturers or suppliers of the salt, I would actually be able to talk with them in French. And I was able to find the right supplier with the best rates and all that stuff. And that's what got me into getting into production of Celtic salt or salt.
Well, you got a great story. He is Brian Lizama. He is the Salt King of America. And he is an inspirational story. Check him out, listen and learn and apply from the message he has, because he has never quit on himself. He will not quit. He is a entrepreneur. He is a grinder. He is hustling hard. Brian, I appreciate your time today, man.
Thank you so much, Chris. Likewise.